So you were looking at that thumbnail or the description on this video, and you're like, the difference between cats and dogs. And there's that part of you, I'm sure, that like, well, they're cats and they're dogs, but you still came in to see the video. And I actually was pretty excited about this one because a lot of you have been asking about listing the difference between cats and dogs, so I want to get into it. Cats and dogs are the most popular animal companions in the world. As a matter of fact, 32 million US homes have cats in them, whereas 48 million have dogs. And before you dog people are like, aha, not so fast, my friends. 70 million dogs altogether in US homes approximately, and 74 million cats. So, aha! But there's reasons for that, of course. You don't need to hear all this. It's just that cats are really popular, dogs are really popular, and yet we're still asking the question, what's the difference between cats and dogs? A lot. The last common ancestor between cats and dogs was 42 million years ago, which is when they split into the caniforms and the feliforms. So with that said, are you ready to get your mind blown? I am too. Cats actually have more in common with the hyena than dogs do. Yeah, because they're in the feliform category. In fact, cats have more in common with the mongooses than dogs do. That's crazy. And dogs, here you go, mind blown, have more in common with a walrus than they do a cat, because walrus are also in the caniform. I mean, just saying that blows my mind, let alone trying to come up with the plural for mongoose and walrus, because they're not walri, nor are they walruses. Walri? Walri? Anyhow, that is just not part of this video. So with the mind-blowing facts aside, we're still making a video because everyone's still asking what are the main differences between cats and dogs, other than the fact that a dog is not a walrus and a cat is not a mongoose. So let's get into it. It really does come down to this evolutionary difference. That's really the journey of domestication. With dogs, we co-evolved with them. From that time, they came in with us, and it was all about helping us hunt, sharing our food, and then, striking this bond. And over time, selectively breeding them to do very specific jobs. And in the meantime, they became companions. And that is the long history with dogs. With cats, it really came down to this mutually beneficial relationship starting 12,000 years ago, where we were storing grain. The mice and the rats were fouling that grain. The cats came along, took care of the mice and the rats. We said, well, this is a great relationship. When it came to calling them companions, really that's a blip in the timeline. We're talking about a couple of 100 years as opposed to the 40,000 years with dogs. And as we start talking about all the rest of this, you'll see it all flows through those very basic facts. So now we start looking at the big social difference between cats and dogs. There has been a rift as to whether we see them as pack animals, because the wolves were pack animals, but we're a long ways removed from that. And really, do dogs see each other in this very strict step system, like alpha dog? But let's be general about this. Dogs have a much more rigid way of seeing their society as a group, whether that be pack or not, than cats do, because really, cats do not have that strict hierarchy. They really don't. In fact, if you look at cats in colonies outside, if you look at them as in a social way inside, there's much more that we don't know about cats than what we do. And that's the truth. I mean, for every study that has been done about this, there's 10 that need to be done, or we may never know. But we do know that cats know how to live in a community. It's just much more in flux. When it comes to the way that dogs see humans, that they really look to us for their cues and for their well-being. Cats, not so much, because again, we've just really been in the same home with them for not such a long time. Cats still retain a lot of that wild, but that is not to say that they are not sociable and social with us. It's just not the way it is with dogs, and that is a big difference between cats and dogs. And not to belabor the point, but everything I talk about here is all about the straight line between who I call the raw cat, the ancestor, and your cat. It's a very straight line. All of the behavioral characteristics and social and physical all relate straight back there. So with playing with a dog, they can go for like an hour. Anybody who plays with a dog knows that the fetch can go on for an hour, the running around can go on for an hour. With cats, it is just not the case. Cats are built for speed and not distance, and all of their play equals prey. From a very, very early age, this is what they know. Hunting is play. So a cat as a hunter is meant to watch, to assess, to stalk, to pounce. If they don't get what they're after, they go right back to square one and do it again. So it's very short spurts of play. And I think, again, as we expect cats to play, we think they're going to play like dogs, and we're disappointed when they don't run around for an hour. And that's not who they are. And everything I'm going to say from now on is the same point, so you can rewind the video and go right back here if you're trying to figure out some context physically. So let's talk about the physical differences between cats and dogs. I want to start right at the center of everyone's lives, which is dietary needs. Dogs are omnivores. Now, yes, both cats and dogs evolved as scavengers. That's a similarity. But dogs were scavengers, but also depended on what we were eating at the same time. And that's why dogs can be more carnivorous, they can be vegetarian, they can be vegan, they can live on any of that sustenance. Cats can't. The difference there is that cats are obligate carnivores. Again, we haven't done much to their process over all these years. They still need what they needed tens of thousands of years ago. That's why cats cannot be vegetarian, they cannot be vegan, they are obligate carnivores. You know what allows me to make videos for you guys on an ongoing basis, 350 videos and counting? That is your subscriptions. A lot of you guys think you're subscribed, but you're not. As a matter of fact, over 70% of you who watch these videos are not subscribed. So please subscribe, hit the bell so that you know when videos are coming out. And also what helps our channel is likes, so do that too. Another big difference between cats and dogs is their feet. I know some of this sounds a little obvious, but not so much. Now, a similarity is that both dogs and cats cool themselves through their pads in their feet. They basically sweat through their pads. Another big difference in their feet, dogs have nails. Cats have claws. And again, that's a big difference, is that the claw is just a really basic part of a cat's life. As a solitary hunter, as someone who's in nature right in the middle of the food chain, hunt, be hunted, kill, or be killed, those claws are really important. It is an offensive weapon, it is a defensive weapon, and this is a very big difference between cats and dogs. Dogs are, by and large, terrestrial. Cats own the sky. And that's the thing, cats' vantage point, escape routes, where they are the most confident in the world, oftentimes it's up there. And any of you guys who have cats know that, because we talk about catification, environmental enrichment, and when we talk about that, we talk about them not having to share the space with dogs and to create their own lanes of highway, which often is going to be off the ground. And so much of that is about their claws. And an extension, in terms of cats being so much more vertical than dogs, we think about how muscularly they are built to climb. And not just to climb, but to jump down. Cats can jump down from great heights. As they hit the ground, then all of that impact is dispersed around their entire system because they're made for that. Cats actually have what's called a righting mechanism. When they fall, they can fall, with their back facing the ground. They find that center and they know where the ground is, and their whole body turns, and they're so much more flexible than dogs in this way, and then they know how to land on their feet. Dogs just are not built for that. Let's talk about how they see the world. Both cats and dogs have much better peripheral vision than humans. Dogs can see about 240 degrees, which is a lot in peripheral vision. Cats, about 200 degrees, so not as much. Now, we get a big difference when we start to focus in on a single point of reference, or binocular. Cats have much better vision than dogs. We're talking 30 to 60 degrees in dogs and 140 degrees in cats. So let's talk about colorblind. Everyone's always asking, is my dog colorblind? Is my cat colorblind? Dogs, yes, they have limitations in their color perception, very, very much like a human who is colorblind, which is to say the red-green colorblind. Cats are just a little more varied. They, by and large, can see colors better than dogs, and they also see, because of that, contrasting colors better than dogs as well. Both cats and dogs have what's called the tapetum lucidum, and that is something in the back of their eyes that allows them to filter in light, even in very low light. Cats definitely do more with that light because they are crepuscular. They hunt in very low light, whether that's sundown or sunup, because that's when their prey is more available to them. So in a way, yes, cats and dogs can do more with low light, but for instance, with humans and with dogs, their irises, when there's a lot of light, it really contracts into a little bitty pinprick. Cats, actually, it turns into a slit, so they can receive more light in there and therefore make a little bit of adjustment. In low light, cats can see up into the ultraviolet range, which is to see, I mean, it's like, you know, that movie Predator, where Predator is like, they see those figures in the distance, and they don't know what that figure is, but they know that they're there, and they know that that's where they're going to eliminate, or eliminate their prey. A cat can see way off in the distance a mouse in grass. They can see up into that ultraviolet range, and actually, there are some theories that cats can even see in the infrared range, which is why they can see ghosts. Am I getting off topic? I believe I am. But because cats are so dependent on their eyes picking up prey in low light, it really does give them a bit of an advantage. Let's talk about hearing. Dogs and cats can both hear in a much wider range and with much more acuity, approximately 4 times better than humans can. Now let's talk about a difference between cats and dogs. And a lot of this, again, comes from the fact that cats are always hunting or trying to avoid being hunted. Cats have 9 more muscles in their ears than dogs do. That's because those muscles help to control this radar on the top of a cat's head. Their ears can turn almost all the way around so they can focus in on what they're missing back there and what they're trying to get to up here. So that means that cats have 27 total muscles in their ears alone, and dogs only have 18. Cats can also hear in a much higher range than dogs. Again, you think about what their prey is, whether they're mice or crickets or birds, that's up in that range there. Dogs really don't have a use for that. Cats can also figure out the distance that sound traveled to get to them. Again, hunt or be hunted, that's where it all comes from. So sense of smell by the numbers. Humans have about 6 million scent receptors in their nostrils. That is a paltry amount compared to both cats and dogs. Dogs have on average about 100 million, but it can get up to 300 million. Cats have about 200 million scent receptors in their nose. So, because of these numbers, historically, it was thought that dogs just had a better sense of smell. But the fact is, as we start to break down the types of receptors in their nose, there's this one type of receptor that's responsible for distinguishing between scents. That's the V1R receptor. Humans only have 2 of them. Dogs have 9, cats have 30, because again, it's so important in the world of cat that they be able to distinguish between types of scents. So that, numbers aside, makes for cats coming out ahead when it comes to the most sensitive sense of smell. A sensitive sense of smell. So yes, when we talk about the difference between cats and dogs, they are thoroughly different. But when it comes to cats and dogs living in our homes, that's where they're starting to meet. In the middle, the longer we have cats in our homes, the more we treat them as family members and not just as colleagues out there in the fields. Now that leads us to our final thing, which is, who's better, cats or dogs? See that smile on my face? I'm just leading you down the primrose path here, cat people and dog people. Nobody's better. I mean, if you don't have a dog in your life and you have a cat, I totally urge you to live the bipedal lifestyle. If you have a dog and you don't have a cat, first of all, you probably wouldn't want to be watching this channel. But if that is the case, again, join the bipedal parade. They just form this perfect little lovable whole. Try it, you guys. Cats are not better than dogs. Dogs are not better than cats. I don't care what any of you say, but I would love to hear what you have to say about it. So put that in the comments below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and let me know what you would like to see in future videos as well, because that's why I'm here. The cat guy, dog guy, chicken guy. I'm your guy. Until next time, it's your guy saying light, love, and mojo.